Now, only on KCAL News, most of us have been on this scenic road, the 21 miles of PCH through Malibu. It's also known as one of California's blood alleys. Tens of thousands of drivers use this stretch of PCH every day, and Malibu resident Michelle Shane is one of them. Michelle lost his 13-year-old daughter Emily along PCH. She was hit by an intoxicated and suicidal driver. Well, Michelle's grief and anger led him on a path to make a documentary, and it took a decade to complete. Michelle hopes the message from his movie will make people think of safety first out here and push Caltrans to do more to address traffic violence on PCH.
What's your emergency?
Kind of an insane driver ahead of us on Pacific Coast Highway.
Michelle Shane saw the same driver that day.
I kind of shook my head and went, wow, look at this maniac.
On the same road.
She's passing people in the emergency lane.
On his way to pick up his daughter, Emily.
Oh my gosh, it's hard to watch this.
And I said, that's not going to end well for somebody. Never thinking that somebody was going to be me.
The girl was walking along PCH near Heather Cliff in Malibu when out of nowhere a driver came barreling into Shane.
She's dead. My life changed forever.
Michelle's journey of grief, pain, anger led him back to PCH and the numerous tales of tragedy and loss, not just his own, along that same road.
Two cars collided head-on, sending one of them in the ocean below.
There was a fiery crash and a man is killed.
The deadly collision left 2 people dead and 2 others injured.
Reading in the local paper and on the news and just on and on and on. And I said, this is nuts. Can't anyone do anything? I mean,
maybe he could.
If we can get people angry enough, maybe we can affect change.
Michelle is a Hollywood film producer. He spent the last decade making this documentary. 21 Miles in Malibu discusses the dangers, the frustrations with the state-run highway through the middle of a city that's also a tourist destination.
It's not just my story. It's the story of the road.
The Chumash Indians lived in what they called Malibu.
The film begins with the history of PCH in Malibu. In 1929, it opened as the first public road through the area. In 1947, it was widened to a 4-lane highway. Through the eyes of a local business owner,
I have seen 9 fatal collisions or deaths from this exact spot.
A sheriff's deputy.
Look at this pedestrian crossing the street right here. See that?
Through the camera lens of a local reporter.
A fatal car versus pedestrian crash at Las Flores Canyon Road last night.
The film tells some of the personal stories behind the statistics. Since 2015, there have been more than 700 traffic injuries and 20 deaths along this stretch of PCH.
You don't think it's going to happen to you. You don't think it's going to happen to somebody that you love. You never do until it does.
The film argues it's nearly impossible to make changes even with a dedicated city task force and multiple studies because the state has the power.
We're actively working to reduce fatalities and serious injuries. 1 death is too much.
Caltrans has not seen the film but says much has changed since they started operating PCH in the 70s. They've added traffic signals, turn pockets, medians, crosswalks, guardrails. But Michelle asks, where are the major changes to address the dangers?
The PCH you see now and you are driving on, there have been no major changes to that road since the 50s. So we're talking 70 plus years ago that the same twists and turns.
There's nothing inherently troublesome about the situation there if drivers behave in a safe and reasonable manner.
Caltrans says for years they've been in dialogue with Malibu residents and the public about safety concerns. In the most recent study funded by Caltrans and done by Malibu, there were 130 recommendations, suggestions on how to make PCH safer.
And 6 years later, and the film's released now, zero has been changed. Zero.
Some of the recommendations were rejected by the city. Others had right-of-way issues, such as they required private property. A number of them are right now being constructed.
The film also talks about the amount of time it takes to go from recommendation to reality.
They put some no parking signs up, which took 4 years, right? Think about that. 4 years. How many people got killed while bureaucracy was walking its way through this? It's insanity.
Caltrans says nothing is fast-tracked. It can take up to a year for the agency to investigate a single issue.
There are many factors and multiple agencies involved in all of the reviews and approvals.
Michel says his latest project has nothing to do with awards or acclaim.
All these stories, all these people who are upset and have been affected by it, there hasn't been enough of a movement to create the change.
But only about producing real change.
There's parking, there's bicycling, there's walking. There's too much noise that you've got to remove the noise. And if you can remove the noise, you can save some lives.
Any message, any film, any outreach that helps people focus on safety and reducing fatalities and serious injuries on our highways is a great thing. And we applaud everyone who's got that in their hearts.
Maybe it all happened for me to be the person that creates the change that saves a family from having to live through this.
Right now, Caltrans is widening the striping on lanes, crosswalks, and pavement markings. They're also upgrading medians and looking into pedestrian-activated crosswalks and beacons. Michelle's big dream is to see pedestrian bridges over PCH with safety ads on them. But he believes pricier speeding tickets along that stretch right now is a quicker solution. Michelle also wants to create a program for high school students using his film as an educational tool. The film, by the way, has won Best Film at 3 film festivals already. Back to you.